When I was a kid at Christmas, in the stocking, along with an apple and a satsuma and a walnut, there would always be a small package containing a little red Let's pocket diary with its fascinating little pencil in the spine. And I can honestly say that I kept that diary religiously for usually about 2 or 3 days, and then I forgot all about it and probably found it the following Christmas with just a couple of days' entries in it. Well, my guest in the YO1 Radio studio this morning has a collection of over 60 diaries that were completed every day for 6 decades or more. But Caroline Skelton's diaries are not her own. They belong to someone else, a much-loved family member. She's sitting opposite me in the studio this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Whose diaries are they?
They're actually my father's, Michael May. And I and my 3 sisters inherited them when he died in 2021.
He was a diligent diary keeper.
He really was. He was more than that, though. He was very, very creative, my dad. We had lots of skills, but he kept a diary every single night without fail. If he did forget the night before, he would write it the next morning. And he started off with just scant sort of facts back in 1958 when he kept a diary because he had chickens. And
it's a good enough reason, isn't it? So was it recording how the chickens were, how many eggs they were laying?
That's right, I think so, yes. So he would say how well the chickens did, how many eggs. And then it kind of led on from that to talk about his family, his sister, his twin brother, Tony, and the farm, because he lived on a farm. So there's a lot more to just the chickens than just the chickens.
Have you always known about these diaries? And if you... but there was an event, wasn't there, that prompted you to dip into the diaries because somebody wanted to know something?
Yes, that's right. We always knew, me and my sisters, we knew about the diaries. We weren't really allowed to read them.
Of course not.
No.
Private.
But a couple of months ago, a friend of my dad's rang me and asked for some information relating back to the farm. And the farm is in Swanland, East Yorkshire. So I said to him, I will have a look in one of his diaries. And that's the good thing about the diaries, because I can look back at anything, any time in the last 60 years, if I want to know anything, and find the information in the diary. It's amazing.
They're a historical treasure trove, really. Did you find what the friend of your dad's was wanting to know?
So I found that, but something fell out of the 1962 diary. And it was absolutely fascinating because, as I say, my dad's diaries were very factual. But this piece of writing fell out, and it was like a complete story about his time at boarding school in York. And it was totally fascinating. It wasn't a side of his... I had not seen that side of him ever. So it was like a new side of my dad.
Yeah. And so what's the story of boarding school? So your dad, judging by what you said, he was growing up on a farm, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So was it just him that was sent to the boarding school?
Well, no, it was him and his twin brother, his identical twin brother, Tony.
And why were they sent to boarding school? And it was St. Peter's in York.
That's right. Well, I think they were quite lively, my dad and Tony.
That's a polite way of saying they were a bit tearaway type.
I think they were. And some of the stories in this writing show that, actually, what they got up to.
Right.
And my dad always said that he didn't want to go and that he was... he wanted to leave. I think he ran away a couple of times.
How old was he when he was sent off to school?
He was 10.
Right, so only a little lad.
Exactly. And at the beginning of this piece of writing, it says how much he missed his family and how sad it, and how difficult that first night was, and what made it easy for him. He talks about that as well.
Had he ever told you about that?
No. I mean, he had told us that, little stories, but actually the stories in that were new to me, actually.
So it's been a revelation, really, about a man that you obviously love very much, but is no longer with us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was. And it's like a bit, I wanted to type it out. I typed it out originally for my sister because it was her birthday, that couple of weeks after that. So I typed it all up. It took me a few hours. It's about 6 sides of A4, something like that. He did it all in ink on A5. I've got it here.
It's there.
It's here.
Oh my goodness me!
There's like 20 sheets of A5 ink-written paper.
Right. Now he didn't write this when he was 10 years old, did he?
No.
How
he
old
wrote
was
that when he was
this?
20. about 1962. So it was in that diary. And I think he wanted to publish it.
Good heavens above. I mean, this is history, really. This is proper people's family history.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, you have a look at that. I'll play another tune. You have a look at that. And if you can pick out a part of that you'd like to read us, or maybe something else from the diaries. I should say Caroline has actually brought several of the diaries with us into the studio this morning, and there's a photograph in front of me which I'm going to ask her to explain in a few minutes' time. We'll have a break for some music. We'll be back with a story of some remarkable family diaries for you in just a few minutes.
What's los?
Kaput.
Kaput, huh?
Kaput.
Do you know this tune?
Yeah, I
Or do you think you can play it on your squeeze box?
know. Yeah.
Well, what do you say we give it a whirl?
We give it like you say a will.
I'll try anything once.
Can't you see I love you? Please don't break my heart in two. That's not hard to do, 'cause I don't have a wooden heart. And if you say goodbye, then I know that I would cry. Maybe I would die, 'cause I don't have a wooden heart. There's no strings upon this love of mine. It was always you from the start. Treat me nice, treat me good, treat me like you really should. 'Cause I'm not made of wood, and I don't have a wooden heart. Musiken, so steht in Haus, steht in Haus, und du, mein Schatz, bleibst hier. Musiken, so steht in Haus, steht in Haus, und du, mein Schatz, bleibst hier. There's no strings upon this love of mine. It was always you from the start. Sei mir gut, sei mir gut, sei mir wie du wirklich sollst, wie du wirklich sollst, 'cause I don't have a word.
On YO1 Radio for a Thursday morning, it's Jonathan Cowart with the morning edition through until midday today. We're talking about diaries this morning, the diaries of the late Michael May. We're chatting with his daughter, Caroline Skelton, about the contents of those diaries and how you came to dip into them. Because you always knew the diaries existed, but it was this friend ringing up saying, can you help me with a bit of factual information about something in the 1960s? And this is where you came across this remarkable account that he wrote about his early school days, which is a bit sad. Have you got a little bit of that you can share with us?
It's really difficult to pick. I mean, there's all sorts about St. Peter's School and what it was like and what it looked like at that time in the 50s. So I could have read about that, but there's a really interesting story. It's quite a funny story that I think I'll read, if that's all right, just a short one. So shall I read that out?
Please do.
Okay, so Mr. Blunt was a teacher at the school at the time. And it says, Mr. Blunt used to say to the other boys, you know, these are two farming men, so watch out, they're very tough. And we, knowing that we were small for our age, disliked him saying it, as we knew that sooner or later a boy was going to get fed up with it and call our bluff. It was indeed sooner. One morning after we had come across at break at about 10:30 to 11, a boy about a foot taller than myself and definitely fatter, I know you couldn't put that now, could you? Came over to where I was reading a letter from home, standing near the window, and said, now, farm lad, just go and get my bottle of milk and straw from the table, which was in the same room as we were talking in, not 5 yards away. I just looked up at him with, I guess, all my old life instincts and told him in no uncertain terms that as far as I was concerned, his milk would still be in the same bottle on the same table the next morning if he thought I was as big a drip as to get it for him. Probably this was a mistake on my part. I didn't know any better then, and he took hold of my hair with both hands and was about to drag me across the room when came the realisation of his mistake. Tony, that's my dad's brother, saw what was happening and rushed up to the boy who had both hands full and gave him the biggest punch in the right eye that he had ever delivered in his life before the boy let go of my hair and went shrieking out of the room, crying his eyes out, and we chalked up our first combined victory at the school, and it showed what any boy was up against if he took one of us on when the other was anywhere in the vicinity. The boy who got the punch in the face had to go to the sanatorium the next morning and have his eye attended to, as it was black as charcoal, and a sister at the San told Tony never to hit anyone else in the eyes. She said hit them anywhere else, but not in the eye.
You didn't mess with the May boys, did you?
No.
I love that story. Fancy Mr. Blunt sort of flagging them up like that and sort of making them a target. But yeah, I suspect that young man that was bossing your young dad about at school at St. Peter's, I don't suppose he ever made that mistake again. Can you look back in the diaries at key historic dates? I mean, that was very localised. That was your dad's own personal experience as a schoolboy. Are there other sort of, because he kept this diary every single day, does he remark on what's going on in the wider world?
Yes, he does. So if I want to know anything, or any of my sisters want to know anything, we can go back in the diaries and find the information. I just brought a few with me. I just happened to pick up 1979 and open it now. And I've seen that.
What's the date?
So Friday, the 4th of May, 1979, in capital letters, Margaret Thatcher has become the first woman Prime Minister of the British Isles. The Conservatives have won the general election by an overall majority of 42 seats. And then I've got Dick led muck from Cottingham this morning.
So it's a mixture of international and national events and farm life.
Yes, absolutely.
It's fantastic.
And he always ended his diaries with who was in. So he would put, if we were all in, he always put all in tonight.
Right, everybody safe at home.
Yes.
Has it given you an insight into your father, who's we say you lost a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Has it given you an insight into your dad and sort of, even after his death, brought you closer?
Yeah, it really has. I think one of the things about my dad was he always worked really, really hard, and he tried to make money all the time. I mean, it was all about, trying different things. But what it's left me with is his creativity, about how he's kind of left us all these diaries. It's more important than money, really, isn't it? To have all these memories and everything that he ever did all there for us whenever we want to look at it. I think that's so special.
It's a wonderful legacy. I can tell you're quite moved when you talk about it.
Yeah.
We're going to have to stop, Caroline. I could talk to you all day about this, and we could keep delving into different dates and whatever, but we can't go on forever. I hope this morning what you've said will validate anybody who is keeping a diary at the moment and keeps a diary regularly, like your dad. Maybe it will encourage somebody to keep a diary. I mean, I know that professionally you are a counsellor. Do you think it's good for people's heads to write down what they do in their lives? Yes,
definitely. I think it's journaling, isn't it? It's important to get things out of your head and put them down. I mean, I think the thing with diaries is though, you worry about who's going to read it in the future. So it's how you keep them, I suppose, and what you do it. You could do it in code or something like that, but I think it's really important. I think it's a good idea, actually.
Final question to you. Do you keep a diary?
I did. I kept a diary for a long time.
Right.
But then I had to stop because I didn't have the time. There's various reasons, personal reasons, but I had to stop.
Bless your dad's memory for sticking to his guns, and 62 years of diary keeping. It's one heck of an achievement, isn't it?
I know, it really is.
Right, well,
proud of him.
Hang on to them. They are a valuable, I think, a real astonishing bit of history. Thank you very much indeed for sharing the story this morning on YO1 Radio. Lovely to have you on the programme. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.